Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul, myself, David Quist, lovely co-host KB Kirk Brown. Championship week recap / CFP reaction. KB, we can probably dive into that right away. Lots to talk about. Just got an update on my phone about Notre Dame opting out of the bowl game, which is insane. We can talk about that too in a minute, but throw it to KB, see how Arizona is, and let's just jump into the rankings and the bracket first, KB, and then we can talk about the games.
Yeah, there's a great slate of games this weekend. I had a Christmas party at my in-laws, which was a lot of fun, but overall excited and looking forward to us breaking it down. Some controversial decisions, obviously, with Notre Dame being left out. Let's go through the full slate of where everyone ended up, and let's talk about it, Quist.
Let's do it. So, obviously, we have 1 Indiana, 2 Ohio State, 3 Georgia, and 4 Texas Tech all getting byes. Cool to see Indiana be 1, KB. What a story in 2 years for that program, just be turned around by Signetti. Honestly, a story that should be told in some kind of documentary or movie in the future. But after that, I'll just go down the matchups and we can discuss. So 12 JMU is playing at Oregon. Winner plays Texas Tech. A rematch of a regular season game. Oklahoma is hosting Alabama. Winner plays Indiana in the Rose Bowl. 11, Tulane plays 6, Ole Miss, another rematch from this season. Winner plays Georgia at their Sugar Bowl. And then 10, Miami at Texas A&M. Winner plays Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. I want to see if I can just get the rankings, KB. Sorry, I was just looking at the bracket. But obviously Notre Dame, the first 2 out was Notre Dame and BYU. Only team that lost a bowl or a championship game that didn't get really hurt, KB, was Bama. I didn't want Bama in, but I really like 2 group of 5s. I know they're probably going to get smoked, which sucks, but you know, if you go 11-1, 10-2, have a decently hard non-conference schedule. I know JMU really didn't. You should be in there. But I know Texas probably wants to be in, Vandy wants to be in, Notre Dame, but hey, it just didn't work out that way. Kudos to the playoff committee for kind of, putting their chest out there and kicking out Bama. And yeah, I don't know if I like the rematches, but I like what they did, honestly, KB, besides Bama being in.
Yeah, I mean, what it came down to is the ACC wasn't going to have a representative in the playoff due to how their championship game broke down. They only play 8 conference games, even though they have a ton of teams in their league, and that allowed Duke to go against Virginia. Virginia even played NC State in a game that wasn't counted as a conference game. So, it's just absolute chaos due to the rescheduling, due to the expansion of the leagues. And the ACC wouldn't have had a representative because they had the lowest ranked conference champion. Obviously, with Duke, I don't even know if they were in the final rankings or if
I don't see them right here.
Yeah, so that's what was going to happen. So the board basically had a decision, well, we can't leave a Power 4 conference representative out, I think is what it came down to. And Notre Dame doesn't have a conference to argue on their behalf. We talk about it all the time, how nice it is that Notre Dame's not in a conference. They get to keep all the money. All the bowl money only goes to them. All their TV revenue that they earn only goes to them. They don't have to split it. But I think this is the one time where Notre Dame being an independent hurt them, and incredibly hurt them, due to the fact that it was basically between them and Miami, and the ACC needed a representative. And I think that's what it came down to the committee. I think that's wrong. I think the way that they rank teams week in and week out is wrong. I think 2 teams that are idle, both shifting, even though you said one should be ahead of the other, but then now because of a loss, they're actually able to be ranked against each other finally. It is just a stupid way to do this. I think it's short-sighted, but we always talked about this. We talked about this the last couple of years. The committee is doing and protecting themselves as much as they can. There's not a week-to-week continuance of rankings. And I want to say the only thing that sucks is, like you said, everyone who had a performance in a bowl game, especially bad performance, dropped. Alabama didn't. I'm not arguing whether Alabama and Notre Dame, if you look at all the advanced analytics, Bama, I believe, is favored over Notre Dame, but they had a horrible, dreadful performance. They had -3 rushing yards. They got absolutely dog-walked offensively. They didn't do anything, and that game doesn't matter. And it feels like, and I'm not going to call it STC bias because I don't think that's what this is, but Alabama played really bad ball game this year, and they didn't have impact on how they ranked. They had maybe the worst loss of anyone in there in FSU,
Yep.
and then they had that last game where we saw them again on a national stage offensively look completely bewildered when they couldn't, protect the passer, and it just doesn't matter. This is also a Bama team that also lost to Oklahoma, so I get that you don't want to punish teams for going to conference championship games, but they punished everyone else. So, and they have punished teams for losing the game, and this year they didn't. So, very confused on that. But yeah, I think it just comes down to them needing an ACC representative and Miami being that team, and they were basically like, well, we got to protect our conference and put that over Notre Dame, who have no one to argue on their behalf. I do wonder if this influences Notre Dame to join a conference soon, but it sucks for them with how well that they played the rest of the year. They had 2 bad close losses, and by the year they're bowling, but every loss counts, man, and it just goes to show that games do matter at the end of the day. I don't think it was the right decision, but 12 is such a hard number, man.
14 would make sense this year. I mean, you got BYU, Notre Dame in.
We've said that when forward, we'll find it makes sense, and then all conferences joined together, which everyone were losses. There was less, there was less cross competition, and there was also more loss because teams were playing each other in harder conferences. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that there's teams every year that are supposed to that are playing well enough to make the playoffs that just aren't going to make it. I think Texas has an opportunity to say, oh, well, we should be in. Vandy definitely has an opportunity to say we should be. But Vandy didn't play anyone in the non-conference. So, and they lost directly to Bama, right? So it sucks, but it is what it is. I'm excited for the games. The Fiesta Bowl's coming down here, the semifinals. So it's on a Thursday. Probably won't be able to attend because I have PTO. I have a wedding that I need to attend a couple weeks later, so PTO is a little tight, but I definitely will drive by, maybe check it out, see if I can maybe get a cheap ticket late in the day, but excited. Anything else, Quist, with the rankings? I hope JMU and Tulane put up somewhat of a fight,
Please.
But as we know, blowouts are all common in the weekend, in these games.
Mm-hmm.
When teams get longer to prepare, the coaching ability and stuff, exacerbates. We saw it last year with Tennessee getting actually boat raced by OSU, and then the next week OSU boat raced Oregon. So we shall see.
Yeah, I love seeing Ole Miss stay idle after losing Lane Kiffin. And I know I was talking to my dad this morning about how Georgia jumped Ohio State in the AP, but I'm glad the committee just switched Indiana in Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State missed a chip shot field goal, and that was the deciding factor. What a great defensive game that was. But no, I think Notre Dame being out is fine. It might not be the best, but they kind of stuck to their guns. And they pretty much play 5 or whatever games against the ACC already, KB. You might as well just join the conference. But I know they have a bunch of rivals, and that might hurt them. But time for Notre Dame to figure something out. I don't know how that'll work out. But, of course, Bama doesn't get hurt while BYU does get hurt. BYU has 2 losses that are pretty much the same to the same team, while Bama has a really bad loss to Florida State. But all I heard or saw them talking about was how Bama has the best win at Georgia. So whatever that is. But good to see Miami getting in over Notre Dame. I think that was a big talking point for a lot of people. They played head-to-head. Miami won. Obviously, that game was August 31st. But obviously, I know it sounded like the committee president told them all to watch it, and they did, and they made that decision. Maybe it's not the right one or the best one, but if that's the difference, a head-to-head has to be the difference, in my opinion. So I got nothing else, KB. We can jump into the games unless you have any more thoughts.
Yeah, I do want to say it does, again, look like the 5 seed is just a very nice position to be in. You get the worst 12 seed, and you get the worst of the champions, number 4 Texas Tech, who's a good team, but I think it's still a really nice place to be, and you also get to host a playoff game, and you get to play back-to-back weeks, and you're not going to be off. Texas Tech and these teams that are going to be off for 20-plus days by the time the season rolls. 3.5 weeks by the time. And I agree with you, Quist. We talked about, hey, whoever's 1 and 2 should kind of just flip it unless it's a blowout, and that game was close. But let's get into the games. North Texas versus Tulane, the Friday night game. Tulane punches their ticket to the playoff with a very I wouldn't say impressive performance, but they turned over Mestamaker 3 times, immediately led the points. There was a pick six that was really controversial because it looked like the ball was out to me and it bounced through the back of the end zone, so I thought it should have been a touchback. And they said that the play was upheld. Tulane was able to run the ball. Retzlaff didn't look great, 145, 13 to 22, 145, but they had 199 yards on the ground, 3 rushing TDs, which was enough to kind of hold the lead after they got out to an early lead due to the turnovers. It's 24-7 at half.
Yeah, bummer to see. I think Tulane's defense. I think North Texas had 5 turnovers total, so hard to win a game. And they usually put up more yards, KB, and I think the turnovers probably hindered them. Obviously, they had 294 passing yards with Mestamaker, two touchdowns and 3 picks. They ran the ball, okay. They ran 34 times for 121 and a touchdown. Bummer. I thought this North Texas offense would have been fun to watch in the playoff, but Tulane's defense stepped up, and we'll have Retzlaff and the boys, making their case against. I'm already blanking on who they're playing, KB, but
Ole Miss.
It'll be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
It's a rematch. What was the score of the first game?
45-10.
Ole Miss
bludgeoned them. I mean, when you look at the total stats, they had 415 yards of offense, they had 25 first downs, but like you said, 7 penalties for 65 yards hurts, and then the 5 turnovers, one of them including a pick 6, and the turnovers being back-to-back, so Tulane was able to kind of just double up on points and then just ride into a lead late into that game.
Speaking of Ole Miss,
I picked Tulane, which was right. You picked North Texas.
Speaking of Ole Miss too, KB, I saw a Trinidad Chambliss commercial. Pretty dope. Sad to say that. But yeah, you got that one right. But segue, I got the next one right. The Big 12 championships at noon. Texas Tech Red Raiders dominate BYU once again, 34-7. Burn Morton, 20 for 33, 215, 2 tutties. Texas Tech ran the ball okay, 41 for 159, compared to BYU, 30 carries for 63 yards. What's-his-face had a really good interception. Jacob, was it Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, yeah.
He also had 13 tackles, 4 solo, and 1 TFL. He's really good. Hopefully he gets to New York in the Heisman. Just to be there, have the defensive player represented. Looks like BYU had 2 picks and 2 fumbles, so turnovers are the difference again, KB. And I like this Texas Tech team. I know they're, it's oil money. They paid that O-line a shit ton of money, but they're there and they made it. Obviously, had that one loss that doesn't look great, but they won their conference. They dominated BYU both times they played them, and it feels good to be right on this one. Pretty much the exact same score, I would say, or similar score to the first time they played.
Yeah, I mean, Bear Brockmeyer was injured in this game. You could tell early after that first drive he had a lower leg injury, and it just didn't look the same. And it actually wasn't Rodriguez that had the interception. It was his co-linebacker, Ben Roberts.
Heck of a pick.
Number 13. He had 2 picks on the day, too.
Hell yeah.
The 2 turnovers. Yeah, when you win the turnover battle 4-0, that's usually a good recipe. They were able to just disrupt them, and Texas Tech didn't have to do much. They could kind of just cruise into this game. I still have some questions on their offense. It's not bad. When they play some of these better teams in the college football playoff, I just wonder how this offense is going to perform. They've just been able to rely on their defense so much that second halves of games kind of can just get away from them a little bit, where they're just hey, they're getting so overwhelmed offensively. The other team's defense is tired. But this is a really impressive performance. That defensive line absolutely attacks. They had 8 tackles for loss in this game, 2 sacks. They're a really impressive group, and I'm excited for them. There's a lot of money that rolled into there, and there's an opportunity with how the Big 12 is kind of balanced out that they're the next big school that takes over and just runs this conference with how much more they're investing than everyone else. But really impressive performance again as they just wallop BYU, and their only loss on the year again was with a backup QB on the road. So take that with a grain of salt.
And they lost by 4.
Who they are. Yeah, lost by 4 on a wild, wacky game. Where they had the lead before a last-second miracle by Levitt. But anyway,
yeah,
I picked BYU, so that is a loss for me.
Yeah, I picked fucking bit Texas Tech and one of my sleeper teams. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a sleeper team when you pay $22.5 million for your team, but hey, we're here. We're going to the playoff. We're ranked 4. And obviously last year was SMU, so it feels good to go back to it. My other 2 teams this year, KB, weren't there, so we'll just ignore that. But let's jump to the SEC Championship game. Georgia wins 28-7, very dominant fashion. I mean, like you said, KB Bama ran for a -3 rushing yards total, including some sack yards. Gunnar Stockton, nothing special though. 20 for 26, 156, 3 touchdowns. I ran the ball for 41 for 141. And the Bama offense was not too great. Ty Simpson also had a pick. And the Georgia defense, when I was able to watch, KB was pretty much everywhere, stifling Alabama. Obviously, former Spartan dog Jeremy Bernard is having a great year. He had another touchdown. But yeah, shout out to this Kirby Smart-led Georgia defense. Hard-nosed, always making plays, flying around. They did the same thing again here against Alabama in a rematch if they lost. And, they definitely earned that 3 seed going into the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, they avenged their only loss on the season. I do find it funny that they get to play back-to-back weeks in the same stadium in their home state that are considered both neutral site games. It's just funny, and that's not me discounting Georgia. It's just they will do a lot. And, Gunnar Stockton, the line isn't impressive, but 3 TDs, was really efficient with the ball, no turnovers. He also had 39 on the ground. And when you're in this kind of tight battle where it was a close game, you got to remember, it was 14-0 before it was 14-0 at half, and Georgia scores a touchdown to make it 21-0. There's back and forth, and Alabama has to go for it on their own late in the fourth quarter in a 21-7 game. That's what blows it out to 28-7, and that's where the final score. I think you got to be concerned with Bama. I mean, every loss is the same story so far with DeBoer at Alabama. If you can disrupt the quarterback timing, if you can get pressure on them, if you win the line of scrimmage, there's just not much that they do offensively that scares you. Ty Simpson looked horrible in this game. They had 3 sacks, but he was running for his life a lot more than just the 3 sacks. And there was a lot of times where Simpson had guys open in the flats, checkdowns, that would have been 10, 15-yard pickups, and he dirted them because he was so overwhelmed by the pressure, and it looked like he reverted to that Florida State quarterback that got sped up and starts missing simple, easy reads and throws where if he does that, it keeps guys on schedule. It keeps everything kind of moving that way, and you just have to look at how they did. They didn't even try to run the ball, too, which I think is a huge indication of where this team's at, and it was a 14-0 game and a half. Their leading rusher had 4 carries. Their second leading rusher had 3 carries. Like, you're not attempting to run the football when you're doing that. Like, that's not an approach on trying to run. That's just, I know that Georgia defense is really, really good, but I think that's a really bad way to play offense. They were 3 of 14 on third down. When you have to throw that much, when you can't run on early down, set up early success, third downs are going to struggle. Georgia actually had 7 penalties for 80 yards, which I think helped keep Alabama in this game on how many penalties they had, some of the roughing the passers and stuff like that. But overwhelming performance. I'm surprised the committee didn't knock them because this is kind of the same formula. Ty Simpson said, we're one of the best offenses in the country.
They didn't do shit.
Best offenses in the country don't look like this. Like, they have 3 separate times. They looked horrible against Oklahoma where they didn't put up any points, a bunch of mistakes, led to Oklahoma being able to win that game. And then Florida State, I think of the same thing. They're able to move the ball, but there's just no scoring opportunities there. They weren't consistent because you can't run the ball. If you can't run the ball, it's so hard. You have these games that just pop up, these games where you're just so unproductive through the air that the timing isn't there and you have nothing to rely on, and it makes you very one-dimensional. And it's hard to win games like that against good football teams. We'll see if Alabama, in their time off, can put together a good game plan to avenge one of their losses against OU. They're going to be at OU in a huge, big game environment. And, OU's offense has also been looking horrible. So is this just going to be a rock fight, 10-7 game? Who knows? But looking forward to that playoff game for sure.
Is that 2 weeks?
Let me look.
I think that's how this works, right?
December 19th.
So 2 weeks.
Yep.
I think they play the Friday game.
Friday, yep. They're Friday at 6, the 19th. And then the Saturday game, there's 3 Saturday games starting early at 10, Miami versus A&M, Tulane versus Ole Miss at 1:30, and then James Madison versus Oregon at 5:30. And then they have another 11-12 day layoff between the New Year's Day games.
That's not real time. I don't know what time you're talking about. We'll talk Eastern time. We'll talk about Eastern times later. That's no big deal.
Yeah. I was saying
poking at you.
all
Arizona time. That's
Absolutely.
totally fine, KB. Let's jump to the Big Ten game. I think this is a fun game just to talk about. Obviously, both teams are 1-2, as they should be. Indiana wins 13-10. This was a old school Big Ten slobber knocker game, KB. Both defenses played well. Offense stepped up when they needed to. And like we talked about earlier, shout out Indiana. Shout out Kirk Cignetti. Turning around the worst program next to Northwestern in 2 years. And in first year, he made the playoff, lost to Notre Dame in the opening round, and now they are the only undefeated team in the country, 13-0, beating Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Defense stepping up and making plays towards the end of the game. Obviously Ohio State missed a chip shot field goal, but in a game like this, that's all it takes.
Indiana missed the field goal too, right? So
Yeah.
you got to account for that. So
Fair enough. So it could have been, 16-10. I thought the defense in the red zone was really good on both sides. Obviously, Indiana made some big plays down the stretch, and then they ran the clock out. Smith had a big game, though, 8 catches for 144 and a touchdown. Carnell Tate had the touchdown, not Smith. Charlie Becker, I don't even know if he is a backup receiver, had a big game for Indiana. 6 catches for 126. I believe Omar Cooper got hurt. And then obviously Surratt had the touchdown. Mendoza with some big throws towards the end. KB, he threw some really good passes. Indiana ran the ball better. 34 carries as a team for 118, 26 for 58, including 29 yards, or negative 29 for Sayans. So obviously, they're probably closer to, 80, 90 yards or so without that in there. So that's a great game, KB. Defense was flying over the place. Indiana deserves to be here now. Crazy to say, the portal, NAL, Cignetti really changing the tide of college football for Indiana. And they beat Ohio State. Ohio State might make a run again in the playoff and win the whole thing, but for a short, brief moment in time, Indiana is at the top of the college football world, winning their first Big Ten outright championship since 1945.
1945, absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to red zone play calling for Ohio State. They want to be a tough team. They want to get heavy and run. And, your best players are your skill players. Your 2 wide receivers are the best players on your team. Your quarterback is probably the 3rd best player on your offense. And you're not using them when you're getting in those goal-to-go situations. I don't know why. They tried QB sneaking again with Sayan, and it failed again. They got to just remove.
He's not Will Howard. He's not Will Howard.
He's not Will Howard. He's a skinny 6 foot. 170-pound sophomore. He's not a big, imposing guy. He falls down. He just falls down. He runs into the butt and falls down. I think that Ohio State, I'm not going to say outplayed Indiana, but I'm going to say that I felt more opportunities, especially in the second half, and Ohio State is just, they just aren't there yet. And I think that over the next month, they're going to, I'm saying that Ryan Day is going to get this team locked and loaded for the playoff. They have plenty of time to kind of redo everything. But yeah, outside of the first half, there was the pick that led to a touchdown for Ohio State. There was a pick that led to a field goal for Indiana. Both of these teams didn't really do a whole lot. They were able to drive the ball, get a couple first downs, but the difference of the game is Indiana gets a third quarter touchdown to go up 13-10, and OSU turns the ball over on downs on Indiana's 5-yard line for QB sneak, right? I just feel like you're giving the other team so many opportunities to win when you get more conservative like that. There's zero explosiveness. Indiana did a really good job of keeping the top on the defense, not letting guys get behind them, forcing Ohio State to drive the length of the field. They got stopped inside the 10. This is kind of like what the old Michigan game plan was. They pressured him. They had 5 sacks on Sayan, which I think he'd been sacked 6 times all year, so really impressive performance by Indiana's defensive line. Got to shout them out. But this was a low-scoring battle. I think both these offenses left some points on the board where we probably could have seen a 20-20, but these are some of the best teams in the country. I'm looking forward to see how they perform, and it's awesome seeing Indiana being ranked number 1. I remember when Cignetti came, he's like, look, we're not coming here to, just be Indiana. I'm coming here to win. I'm coming here to win the Big Ten. I was like, oh, this dude's a fucking maniac. I didn't know why this is happening. I remember being laughing at him. We were like,
first time they've ever beaten the one team too, I believe.
And they did. And it was a really impressive performance. And it's not the end of the season for Ohio State. There's still the whole entire season. They're even still in the position for a bye. So I don't want to sound the alarms, but this is kind of one of those games when you look back at it and you're like, man, like Ryan Day, like fourth quarter tight games, man. It's a theme. I just feel like he wants to win a certain way sometimes, and he can get a little stubborn on it. I feel like when you get into the red zone, you got to be a little bit more aggressive, and he just isn't. Your best player is Jeremiah Smith. Just throw him the ball.
Touch pass. You can do a jet touch pass. You can do a fade. Anything.
And Jeremiah Smith had a heck of a game. I mean, he's the best receiver in the country. It's stupid that they're going to have him and I believe Malik Henry or whatever the number one recruit in the country for wide receiver also just committed. So they're going to be absolutely filthy again next year with basically everyone back on offense. So really impressive performance. And then Caden Curry had 2 sacks in this game. Had to shout him out. He's having a really, really impressive year. Big senior season for him. They lost.
Can't believe Heartline's going to USF, KB. But correct me if I'm wrong. It just popped in my head. Did every team last year that got a bye, did they all lose last year? Okay, so I'm kind of curious to see how that plays
the team that advanced, there is a little asterisk to it because the team that advanced was favored in all those games. So it isn't that crazy to say that the favored team won all of their games. But, yes, because Oregon lost, Georgia lost.
Boise,
and then who was the other one?
Who's the Big 12 champion? Arizona State? They lost to Texas.
No, Arizona State was...
Was it the quarterfinal?
Yeah. It was. That would have been quarters, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So everyone who's favored won, though, but...
Interesting. Well, yeah, great game, classic Big Ten game. Once again, we got to shout out Indiana, KB. You can't say it enough. It's super cool. Definitely a movie worth telling story. But last game, the dumpster fire, the ACC comes through for us and causes chaos because we both picked Indiana and Duke. Duke wins 27-20. In overtime, was a little worried, KB. I was locked into this one. I wanted Duke to win so bad. They kind of give it up at the end. Score, I was listening to Greg McElroy the whole time in overtime. Duke was running the ball down Virginia's throats. They had like maybe 4 guys in the box, maybe 5. And then they scored on a 4th and goal. And then Virginia comes back. I didn't know this was a thing, KB. They had a roughing the passer to score the touchdown against Duke, on Virginia, against Duke's quarterback, and then that could be enforced in overtime. So what, the ball's in the 40, they try to do a trick play, first play, Morris kind of throws it up, and Indiana defender makes a heck of a play. Game over, Duke wins.
Duke defender.
Oh yeah, Duke defender, sorry. Great play, and 8-5, Duke wins the ACC. You love to see it and cause chaos, making Miami the only ACC team to make the playoff. If Duke can win some of their non-conference games, KB, they're probably in the playoff, but they didn't. They're not even ranked. So could do that. Great for the chaos. Sorry, go ahead.
They lost 45-19 to Illinois. They lost 34-27 to Tulane, and then they lost to UConn 37-34. So absolute chaos for them this year. Absolutely, they were just so hot and cold, and I think a big part of that is Darian Mensah, their QB. They throw the ball a lot, and he had a lot on his shoulders this year in terms of what he needed to do offensively. And so because of that, I think at times this team was very hot and cold because it all rode on his shoulders if he had a bad game or they couldn't score and punch things in. But they were able to get this win, and it's really impressive, all things considered. And I think that Virginia, they had a real shot here, and it has to be heartbreaking to, have that 15-yard penalty enforced, and then at the back end of it, you throw a pick on a trick play.
Yep.
You're like, oh, well, trick play on first down. We got 4 downs to get it. We can waste one. Let's see if we can pull the wool over their eyes. And Manny Diaz's team is well coached up. It is funny that Manny Diaz helped his former team out, Miami, by beating them, winning his first conference championship quicker than when he was there, right? They haven't won an ACC championship since he's gone, and he ends up winning. So I just think that's really funny. I do wonder if this team stays together or if Diaz or Mensah look to leave and cash in the portal. So we'll see. But overall, really fun weekend of college football. I enjoyed it. I was able to watch it with a close friend of the program, Sam Walkus. So appreciate everything.
Hey,
guys,
I got some more thoughts.
Anything else?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
2 things. Who's your Heisman frontrunner? It's got to be Diego. It's got to go be Diego, right?
It's either Fernando or Diego.
I go Diego.
Is fine. I think you have it. the guy that led Indiana to the season that they've had is something to take into consideration. But yeah, it probably could be Pavia on stats. It sucks. The season wasn't really in their hands. They won a lot of games. They lost 2 games, but they just didn't have a tough enough schedule, right? A lot of 2-loss teams are making it, but because of who they had on their schedule and who their losses were to, they unfortunately aren't going to be in the playoffs. But yeah, I think Diego should probably win it. I don't know if I like the flair of him winning it with everything, and he's like a 35-year-old guy, just exaggerating.
End of the COVID stuff, and then I would like to see Rodriguez from Texas Tech at least get invited.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if I'm
defensive
missing
player
somebody.
should always be invited. Like I think the best defensive player
Jeremiah
in the country
Love?
should just always be invited.
Would he be a running? I mean,
he might not go. He might decline going. Right.
Desmond Howard had a really
Notre
bad
Dame's
take.
reacted.
If you want to look
What do
that
you
one
say?
up, just like it was really lackluster campaign, and like should we even like give one out? That might be like paraphrasing, but not in my opinion a bad take.
I've heard people say that's ridiculous. Reason why stats and numbers aren't as good or indicative is because of the clock rules. The clock rules and how teams are playing this year. Teams are going significantly slower. There's less plays, less yards as a result of it, right? Defenses have definitely stepped up and adjusted to the changes as well, and that's all kind of influenced stats. And I don't think you can look at stats in a vacuum of putting up stats. Everything's relative, right? You wouldn't look at a year like that ball era. Those guys couldn't hit home runs because the balls were freaking dead and gone, right? But like you don't judge their numbers over everyone else's numbers on that stuff. You look at how everyone competed relative to each other. That's the point of these awards. It's the best player in the country this year. It's not who did the media back and fall in love with and create a whole drama series about to make you fall in love with them.
Yeah. I would agree. Just want to ask you that. And then the other thing, any fun bowl games to shout out? I'm looking right now. I think the Game Above Sports Bowl, we'll talk about it later, but that's Central versus Northwestern. That's fun. They haven't announced them all, but another one I just saw, KB, the Rely Quest Bowl, Iowa Vanderbilt. Obviously, the Citrus Bowl, Michigan Texas. Obviously, they're not all announced yet. We'll do Bowl Mania between me and KB. I think it's a $100 bet. And I think this year, KB, we'll open it up to obviously the listeners, and maybe we'll do some kind of giveaway, or I don't know, I'll figure something out. We can always talk about it, but keep that in mind, guys. I'll probably tweet that out for the Bowl Mania, but KB and I obviously will have our gentleman's agreement, just head-to-head, no weird scale stuff. I can't stand that. And whoever wins gets $100 from the other person, including the playoff, which is always fun. I think I'm 2-0, so that feels good. But like KB said earlier, it was a great weekend. The playoff committee, they did as best they could. I know Coach D is on that, so that's cool. Also, Michigan State got $401 million going towards infrastructure and NIL. I believe is Greg and Don Williams from Acrisure. No naming rights, KB. That's a W from J-Bat. That is straight up just cash money to make things better and pay players. Wouldn't be surprised if we start getting more money, obviously, for $1 billion for Sparta. I think we're already at $750 million pledged, so that is great. Went to the hockey game. We lost at home. Then we beat Michigan at Michigan, so we split that series this weekend in hockey. But looking forward to the bowl games. We have a little bit of a lull here, KB, Army-Navy game next week, and then we'll be in Bowl Mania. It'll be a heck of a time. So nothing else from me. I think it's looking forward to a little bit of a slow period for a week or two, and then we're going to jump into bowl games and right into the playoffs. So as always for me, it's a big go green. And we lost to Duke in basketball, but go green.
Yeah, we got the rate down. That's all to the Diamondbacks, which is December 26th. I have that Friday off, so that's maybe possibly something I'll go to on Mexico, Minnesota. It's usually a Big Ten team, so I know a couple years ago Wisconsin was down here. I do want to say Michigan playing Texas is annoying as fuck. Bowl games, in my opinion, are usually I just feel like bowl games should be teams that you don't see play that you finally get to play. We played Texas last year. We're playing them in 2 years. So within 3 years, we're going to have played them, or within 4 years, we're going to have played them 3 times. It's fun, but it just takes the shine off the bowl game after we just played this team last year, and we're going to play them again, like I said, 2 years. I know the teams will be different, and everything like that. And, shout out Archman. We'll see how he's able to do. I hope we don't have any outs and stuff like that. And, Michigan has a huge opportunity. Bowl season is one of the most important times for programs that miss. I feel like this is always something not talked about. You get, I believe it's like 14 practices or something like that if you play like the January late bowl games. So there's plenty of time to set up practice, get better, bring young guys along, guys that maybe have been injured. They got some time to rest and heal up, and you just have a huge opportunity here to get better. And that's the huge thing, especially with a team like Michigan who's so young, is Michigan, as everyone is getting out all those reps. If MSU was going through this coaching transition, they probably wouldn't have been if they made a bowl game, but that's neither here nor there. Like, you would have time to set all this stuff up. There's some transfer portal needs and stuff looking forward for the team next year, so I'm excited for when that opens up. Do you have a date on that, Quist, on when the portal opens up again?
I can look. I was just looking up about the opting out thing. It looks like teams that opt out of their games for bowls can still practice, which I think is kind of goofy. But let me look up the transfer portal window quick.
Yeah, there's things a little too
January 2nd through January 16th.
Yeah, so Michigan will finish bowl practice and everything, finish their bowl game, and then hopefully portal season will give them opportunities to fill in some holes that we'll have next year. Also, guys opting in and out for the NFL draft is coming up on if we're going to be able to retain some of these guys. But the biggest thing is I hope Underwood shows some growth. We have that game coming up, and it's just how does he mature as a quarterback. So with all that being said, I appreciate everyone for listening. Excited for bowl season. Excited for bowl media that Quist and I will be doing. And I couldn't say it better after watching Ohio State lose, which is always fun for me. Go Blue.